Well, thanks for joining us this month as we look at the finances once again for the update for the month. And we're in a bit of a different room. And Marcus and I were just saying, actually, how amazing it's going to be when we have our capital campaign and we have a dedicated space where recordings like this are a little bit easier. Because as you can tell, we're in a bit of a different space, but it's actually a space that was already set up. So it's going to be a huge savings on time when we have the capital campaign finished and have the rooms finished for recording. So that's a little bit of a plug for capital campaign for Beyond All. And yeah, we will talk about that in a few minutes. So first, let's talk about finances just for a couple minutes. As we look at January, we had budget for 114,000. We actually brought in 106,000. So we were a bit lower than what we had expected, which actually was surprisingly good because December was quite a bit lower than what we expected. January obviously didn't make the threshold, but we saw ourselves evening out a little bit. And we were still about a 1% increase from last year. So that's still an increase from last year giving with, combine that with capital campaign, combine with Beyond All, combine that with Sup and Sun Peaks. That's just still a win story and just a gift, especially as we consider our expenses, because our expenses were 161. Now the actual expenses were a bit higher for this month, but that's only, again, year to date is really what matters, what we're looking for. And so our expenses for Jan were a bit higher. That being said, we budgeted for a $46,000 loss, and we actually had a $70,000 loss. So before you panic, you're like, well, what happened to the expenses? Again, we look at these month over month, and we try to do our best to be able to articulate when it is that we're going to make these expenditures and when we're going to see this revenue coming in. With that said, sometimes things move and shift a little bit in terms of when they actually come in, or let's say we have an event coming in December, but the bill doesn't actually come in for January. So we're trying to get that tightened up month over month, but really what's important is what is our year to date. So if we looked at the budget, year to date, we expected to see $1.1 million come in, and we've seen 994,000. So we're about 100K short on our expected giving for the year. With that said, though, expenditures were budget for 1.16, and they're actually quite a bit lower at 1.08. So even though we had a decrease in revenue, we still saw an increase or a decrease in the expenditures as well. So we budget for $64,000 loss. We're actually sitting in $95,000. So we're managing our expenses. We're managing it month over month the best way, wherever we can, however we can, while still remaining to do ministry and to do what needs to be done. So with that said, continue to pray for us, that we steward wisely, that we are diligent and continue to be diligent in terms of trying to figure out where's the Lord leading us and what we spend. But Lord, thank you again for trusting us with these finances. We're so grateful and appreciative that you do indeed trust us. So with restricted funds, once again, just a quick snapshot. Care Connections this year, 44,000, Missions and Outreach, 57,000, and Capital Reserve, 16,000. Now that Capital Reserve, once again, is not Beyond All. That's just simply the upkeep of the building here, there, and everywhere. Whether it's staircases that the toe needs to be repaired on, or whether it's outside that we need to do a parking lot, resurfacing, or whether it's even just stuff around the yard. So that really is not the same as Beyond All. Beyond All is its own kind of catchment. But all those funds are earmarked again for those specific purposes and will be used for those specific purposes. Right now, the Capital Reserve Fund balance, so that's just the cash on hand that we have collected over the years, is $40,000 for, again, doing maintenance around the property here on the asset. Beyond All Capital Campaign, so far we've pledged $1 million has been pledged towards capital campaign, which is just amazing. Considering that we only really launched this in the fall, we are already a solid third of the way into there in terms of pledgement. But then we've received 611. So if you were to, the number isn't up here, but some of that received has already been pledged. But some of that's been received has not been pledged. So that received number is both pledged and unpledged numbers. If you were to combine everything's been pledged and then add on top of that everything that's been received that has not been pledged, we're sitting at $1.25 million that has already come in, or at least been pledged to come in for this campaign. So that's just incredible. That's a huge gift. Just a quick update with respect to the capital campaign. is that currently we are looking at the option of restructuring some of the key components of the front foyer area, and we're waiting for drawings to come back and some advice and talking to the city and talking to stakeholders with respect to what we can do there. And so we're really just doing a lot of the preliminary work, a lot of the foreground work, setting in place all the permitting and all the conversations we need to have with different stakeholders as we go into this project. Like most things, it's usually the prep work that takes the most amount of work. But nonetheless, once the work starts, it's gonna happen very quickly. So we're hoping to actually start swinging hammers, if you will, as we start to get into the springtime, or if not sooner. And then things will start to move fairly quickly with a really good focus, or a heavy focus, on the front foyer, as well as the kids area. That really is going to be one of the top things we want to tackle first. By way of update, one thing we've already had accomplished, or have accomplished already, is the phone. One of the things on the capital campaign is that we really, really wanted to improve our phone structure. We are in a highly relational environment, and so when our phones don't work, that doesn't do very well. And so the phones, really, we've been nursing them along for the last 10 years, and they've served us well, but we were having glitches and bugs and can't access this, and sometimes the phone wouldn't ring. And so, church, we just want to say thank you. We now have a phone system that is dependable, it is reliable, it is expected to last for many, many, many years. That we don't expect it to grow outdated anytime soon. And so our phone system, all of the staff are just feeling a sigh of relief, as the phone system is just one of those things that now just works seamlessly amongst our staff. So thank you, church. That's just one small project of the many projects that are about to come. It's one that we can kind of check off our list right away and get done. And we did it. So thank you, church, for your faithfulness, for being good, for stewarding your resources well, so for his kingdom. And we just appreciate the trust that you have given us as we enter into this campaign, into what God's called for Kamloops Alliance Church. So with that said, if you have any questions, you want to know anything, please email finance@ksc.ca, or just email me, timh@ksc.ca. And thank you so much for your care, your generosity, and the love and the passion that you have for serving Jesus.